Hello family, friends, and YouTube. My name is Joe and welcome to the garden. Today we are going to shape up the garden. We're going to do a little rototilling, a little shaping of the rows, talk to you how I do my spacing, and if time permits, we're going to put some plants in the ground. And so several years ago, I talked and shared with y'all my row builder. I pull this behind my 5-foot rototiller. Today I want to go a little more in depth on the whole process. So let's back away a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on here. So this is my garden. This is the front garden. At the far end you can see some strawberries, there's some asparagus, some rhubarb. You see a tilled portion over here. That is where I have my peas, a few cucumbers already started, kale, we have some onions and green beans already in the ground, and I just used the Troy-Bilt to work that. This side here, we are going to chew up with a 5-foot wide king cutter style rototiller that I pulled behind my little Kubota. We're going to chew that up. We'll do that a couple passes, and then we'll harness on my row builder, my hiller tiller, whatever you want to call it. We'll shape up those rows, and then we'll do all the extra work, layouts, everything. So I'm going to try to put this into chapters because I find that is helpful, but sometimes it doesn't work. Why row build? There's my pond. And what I found is if I don't build these rows, this end of the garden gets sopping wet, and anything that's there, when you get one of those 2-inch rains, it's gone. It just can't hold that much water. So the very first thing that I have to do is I have to pull down the fencing all the way across from that post all the way here. I got a half a section that kind of folds out. These are just cattle panels with chicken wire along the bottom of them. And so I can pull that down, pull the T-post out, and this really opens up quite a bit. Now, one of the things I will tell you is this rototiller here does a great job. That tractor is about 25 horsepower at the PTO, and really it does a great job of smoothing out that dirt and really working under all those chicken droppings. Chickens spend their winter in here, food scraps. We try to get out big chunks of like broccoli and all that. So it does a pretty good job at it. The problem that I have with it is really a lot of that dirt's been compacted by chickens working it and flattening it, and rain. You usually have to go over the same space twice because the shoes only allow it to go down so far. Now, once it's soft dirt, I can go down probably 10-12 inches with this thing, but on that first pass, maybe 6 inches. And so you go a little bit deeper. It's a little more work on the tractor, but that's where we're at. So we're going to I got my helper. He's working on I don't know what he's working on, but he's making a path. So we're going to till through this one more time. Let me quickly walk you through this. I'm gonna leave the tractor going because that keeps my hydraulics up. But what you saw there was, we built this years ago out of, I believe those are 2x8s, and then some rough sawn pine. And that goes and sits on the outskirts of the shoes. We lift up that flap, and then we have another, just a treated like 2x6 that goes along the outside. And we've got 4 timber screws. As you can see, I got 3 of one kind and 1 of another. It is what it is. Then the next thing, once we got that good and snug, I hook up a chain all the way to the top of the framework of that rototiller. And that's always a little bit of a try to figure out, but that holds up the rear of this because everything else would pivot on that back flap that's holding up the rear of it during transport. And then the bricks, I don't have down pressure on this, right? And so the goal is that the tiller is going to stir up the dirt, and then it's going to force it in between these boards. Let me flip you around here. That is going to force it into about a 30-degree V. Excuse me. It's going to go 5 foot to about 30 inches. And that's what's going to give me my furrows. And so, as you can see, the hydraulics just kind of dropped. There's a lot of weight back there now. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the garden. We're going to back in. Sometimes it takes 2 trips of this, sometimes 1. I'm thinking with the soil conditions today, it's going to be 1. And then it's a trick. How fast do you go? How slow do you go? If it's too dry, the piles don't stay up. If it's too wet, they don't do anything. So let's go. So building those rows with the tiller really makes my work a little bit easier, but it's not perfect. I think that wood grips the dirt quite a bit, and probably a slick surface would be better than that. But as you can see through time lapse, that usually I'd have to go once and twice, and really I went over it 3 times. Problem is backing up. The distance between those rear tires is pretty tight, and if you're not careful, you'll just start to smash your pile, and then you're back to ground zero again. Other issues that I have is because there is a slight slope to the garden going towards that pond. The whole mechanism wants to shift to the side, and if I try going too fast, it just pulls me around like a rudder. My front tires, there's not a lot of weight on the front tires, so I just have to be patient, and steering and control is at a minimum there, and so patience needs to be at a maximum, right? So anyhow, get done with that. Like I said, I took a few passes, and all in all, I would say that to shape all those rows there, 35 minutes of tilling time, so not a huge investment by any means. And then you take it apart just like you put it together, pull the big blocks off, prop it up, undo the chain, undo those clamping screws, and pull it out. And I finally learned to do this outside, because then all the dirt gets to stay outside, right? Then I have to kind of clean up the ends. And when I say clean up the ends, if I'm going to maintain the space up against the fence, which is right behind you, I need to have some turning radius with either the walk behind rototiller or just even me moving about. So use the front end loader to kind of pull those back a little bit. I'm minimally skilled operating a tractor, but pull those back a little bit. Brought the tiller through to just kind of smooth stuff up. On the outside of that fence, I will put flowers, and so I did that, started putting that fence back together. You'll see me jostling around a little bit. I try to have just a couple T-posts in there, but I like them to be in a straight line, and then I just use my Romex wiring to tie those up. Then I come along with a rake, and I rake the inside, rake the outside. Like I said, we'll plant flowers there shortly. And now it's time to start marking out. What is kind of neat is you can see where the hook of that chain goes right down the middle of that furrow, and just the hook that held up the back of that board leaves a nice little centering mark. And so this is my layout tool. It's not too fantastic by any means. It's just some rough sawn timber, but it has these little marking tabs, and this is at 3-foot center. Or I can flip it down. I'll wait for it. and I got another one back there, right? And so now this is at a 2-foot center. Like I said, this isn't perfect, but I try to plant my tomatoes 3 feet apart. Plant my peppers 2 feet apart. And so I'll go down that end, mark these out so you get a general idea of what I'm talking about. That's pretty much it. I have got a bucket full of compost in the tractor right behind you. I will come along and I will scoop out a shovel full in each one of those holes, replacing it with a shovel full of compost, and then I start planting. I've got quite a bit of starts ready. They're not looking overly impressive, but we get them in the ground, we get them some good nutrients, get them some water, they start stretching their roots out, and it's pretty much magic. And so there you go, guys. Looks like you're on a tilt a little bit. There you go. This is how I till, hill, and build my garden bed for planting. So I hope you were able to find something useful out of all this rambling. So there you go. My name's Joe. Have a good day. Bye now.